Welcome, Husker fans. Thank you for tuning into Big Red Radio, the Husker Talk Show. I am your host, Caleb Jennerat. Next to me is my co-host, as always, Zach Jennerat. Zach, how are you today?
Doing good. Pumped for Matt Rhule hire. Pumped for our new hires. I also believe that we're going to have some key pieces returning on the both sides of the ball, actually. I think it should be a good year.
So, yeah, before we get started, subscribe to the channel, leave a like, and hit the bell so you never miss an episode. We post every Wednesday and Friday. Took last week off. Ironically, it was the only week where we could have filmed together in person, but we had some other stuff going on, had some scheduling issues happening. So didn't get to film together then and took Thanksgiving break off of the videos. But yeah, we're back right after the hire. Glad to finally get to talk about it, talk about some more stuff, answer some of your guys' questions that you left as well. Social shout out, Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, and Facebook, always posting updates over there. But yeah, so before we get started, I wanted to say a few things. Wanted to thank Trey Palmer. He is leaving for the draft. Want to thank Mickey Joseph, whether he's back or not, did a great job as the interim. Want to thank Casey Thompson, whether he's back or not. He did a great job. Looks like Mark Whipple is not coming back. Want to thank him. I think he did a better job than people give him credit for. Bill Bush, if he's not back, want to thank him because he took on a huge role after Shenander was fired. Really took over that defense, made it a whole lot better than it was. Did really the best he could. But yeah, just wanted to put those out there because they might not be coming back.
Another one is Ochon Mathis.
Yes.
Probably says he's leaning towards the draft, would like to talk to Rhule and Mickey. But I would say he's probably going to the draft for sure on that.
Mm-hmm. So yeah, but we're gonna get to your guys' questions. But first, I want to talk about a little bit of Mark Rhule, because I'm sure you guys watching this video already really know. You've listened to the press conference, you've heard all of his comments, you've heard what everybody thinks about him. I just want to briefly get some points out there about people's main concerns, because people had some concerns about Matt Rhule, including myself, before I did more research. But looking into it, it's a really good hire in my eyes. I'm not going to lie. I'm not going to sit up here and say it was my number one choice. He wasn't my number one choice. Looking into it, though, I can see why he was Trev's number one choice. And I truly do believe that he was Trev's number one choice. I don't think Trev is just saying that. Apparently, Nebraska talked to 13 coaches. None of them turned Nebraska down. Once again, I mean, who's going to prove that? But yeah. So Matt Rhule, some of the things that were big question marks about him coming into this is his record. 47-43, I believe, is his coaching record. Just over 500, but that doesn't tell the whole story. I have Matt Rhule's records pulled up here. So for Temple, he started out where's it at? Here it is. Started out 1-7, 4-4, 2-10, 6-6, 10-4, 10-3. Turned the program around. He had 16 losses in his first 2 years, 7 in his last 2 years. Then he went to Baylor, 1-11, 7-6, 11-3. Overall, 19-20. But he left for the NFL. And I just think the 47-43 record doesn't indicate how good of a job he did at those two schools. Temple wasn't a winning program. Took him over at 2-10, automatically flipped him into a bowl contending team, 10-4, 10-3, winning their conference. I don't know if they won their conference both those years. They were first in their east of the American Athletic Conference. And then goes to Baylor, 1-11 after the Art Briles situation, 7-6 immediately making it to a bowl game, 11-3 leaves for the NFL. So if you take out those first 2 years, he is a combined 20-7 at Temple and 11-3 at Baylor. And a 2-year turnaround is really quick, actually, if you really think about it. And another worry that people had is he's just going to leave. That's doesn't make sense to me. Like if you look at his resume, maybe like you look at Temple, he was there for 4 years, left. Baylor there for 3 years, left. But he was at Temple, got a Power Five job, left. Was at Baylor 3 years, got offered an NFL job, turned it down, stayed another year at Baylor, got offered another NFL job, finally took it. Like the jumps is what he went through. He went from group of five to power five to NFL. It's not like he was jumping around power five to power five to power five to power five or group of five, group of five, group of five, group of five. He was moving up, which is what every coach does. He just didn't have that foundational school like a guy like Wisconsin just hired in Luke Fickell that was at Cincinnati for years and years and years and had a lot of success, but also just didn't leave, just didn't go to that big next step until this year. So those are the two big ones that I thought people had concerns with. Have you been hearing other things that people are concerned with that you just don't think are real?
Yeah. Honestly, I feel like this is something that you kind of go against me on. Uh, but the position he was put in at Baylor is, I really don't think people understand like the magnitude of what he took on at Baylor. Sure, he may have had um, a lot of his starters return, but he actually had 48 scholarship players leave that year. Um, there was 17 women that reported sexual domestic assault. 19 football players were involved in that. There was Title IX investigation, 125 reports of it, and there was 31 football players in another one involved in rape allegations. And so not only did you have those 48 scholarship players leave, you're coming into a program that is looked at as incredibly bad, like full of bad people, and you're not going to get a lot of donor support after that. You're really not going to get a lot of fan support after that. And so sure, he may have went 1-11 in his first year. All right, but and he had recruiting allegations against him there. So it was harder for him to recruit, harder to get fan support, hard to get donor support, and probably hard to get team support, considering 48 scholarship players left. Not only that, he also had, they say, 5 or 6 other job offers that year, but chose a dumpster fire like Baylor, knowing that he could flip it around.
Mm-hmm.
And so that really sticks out to me. And then there was 2 lines that really, really stuck out to me in the press conference. I liked a lot of it. I liked where he, preached the line, O line and D line, where he preached toughness and consistency and working hard and developing players and wanting players that want to be there. But as far as him, I really liked when he said, "This isn't a financial decision. The way my contract was working with Carolina, I could be in Charlotte right now with zero stress, golfing every day, making the exact same money that I'm making here today." Um, and another one was that he straight up said, "I had multiple other job offers." A lot of people think he got offered the Auburn job. I wouldn't be surprised if he got offered the Auburn job. I wouldn't be surprised if he got offered the Wisconsin job. Um, and he obviously turned those down to come to Nebraska. And he said, "I didn't turn them down for money. Again, wasn't a financial decision." He said wherever he went, he was going to get paid the same. So it wasn't a financial decision. It wasn't a decision of, what team is better. It was, he said he just loved the feel in Lincoln. He loved the feel of Nebraska, and he's always wanted to coach at Nebraska. He actually said it'd be an honor to coach in Memorial Stadium on Tom Osborne Field. And so those just really stuck out to me because, I mean, not to like point fingers at other coaches or anything, but you go watch that press conference of Luke Fickell at Wisconsin, and it's not the same. It's not at all the same. I guarantee you that was a financial decision. I guarantee you that was a grow my resume decision and like a higher ceiling decision. Like I said, like Matt Rhule didn't need any of that. He didn't need to grow his resume. He's got a great one. he doesn't need more money because he's going to get paid the same wherever he goes. And he doesn't need a place with a higher ceiling because he can take anywhere. He could take Auburn's. Wisconsin's ceiling is incredibly high. Nebraska's ceiling is incredibly high. Like there's plenty of job openings to take with high ceilings for Matt Rhule. And so just that he came here, and the way he went about his press conferences, I mean, it really made me happy. Just looking at like other coaches, like Luke Fickell, nothing against him, great coach, but just didn't seem like the same amount of energy. Like didn't seem like he just wanted to be there. And then even more, Matt Rhule was in Memorial Stadium at 5 a.m. this morning.
Yeah.
I mean, that's pretty crazy on your first day. No one's making Matt Rhule be there at 5 a.m. No one's going to get mad at Matt Rhule if he shows up at 8 a.m. because he had a long day yesterday. But
Right.
no, Matt Rhule showed up at 5 a.m. because he wanted to be there at 5 a.m.
Right.
And that, I mean, this man's dedicated. I'll tell you that. And this man wants to be there for 8 years.
Yeah.
I will tell you that.
Yeah. And no, you can tell he came in at 5 a.m. and he has been working because this staff is much farther along than I expected it to be. What, 3-4 days after the hire? Offensive coordinator Marcus Satterfield has already been hired.
That's a great OC. I mean, that is an incredible OC.
Well, I think we're going to dive deeper into the staff once it's more filled out and once we know who's all going to be on it and who's going to stay on it and who's going to be coming back from last year's staff, if any. Running backs, EJ Barthel, who's really good. Defensive line, Terrence Knighton. I love Terrence Knighton. As you can see, Broncos back here. Terrence Knighton was a stud for the Broncos. He just put in his new Twitter bio
one thing on that,
Nebraska D-line coach, so it's pretty confirmed.
So one thing on that is I don't know the exact names on his past D-line coaches, but a lot of people were bringing up the fact that Terrence Knighton does not have a lot of experience in the D-line as a D-line coach. I mean, he was an assistant D-line coach with the Carolina Panthers. Like that's it. And if you look at Matt Rhule's old D-line coaches, when they got hired for him, they had little to none experience. One of them is now in college, one of the top D-line, if not the top D-line coaches in college football right now. The other one is in the NFL and one of the top D-line coaches in the NFL. And the reason I think that is not only does Matt Rhule come and develop players on both sides of the line, but I think he can also come and develop coaches on both sides of the line. And you see that a lot. You also see a lot of people already getting recruited by Matt Rhule. Before he even had his press conference, he was already recruiting guys. And that's huge too.
Yeah. So going more along the staff, Evan Cooper is a secondary coach. He was the Panthers corner coach, and he has a recruiting coordinator background. So hopefully, we'll get into Mickey more, but hopefully him and Mickey, if they both are on the staff, can do some dangerous things in the recruiting. Strength coach Corey Campbell. I'm sure you've already seen the picture. He was the Carolina Panthers assistant strength coach and a strength coach at Baylor. The dude's jacked. The dude looks like he's a strength coach, so not too worried about there. And then today, something came out about Ed Foley. We don't really know what he's going to be yet. He could be an offensive assistant. He could be a special teams coordinator. We don't really know yet. But he was the Carolina Panthers assistant special teams coach. And I've seen some people, because everybody he's hired, he's had connections to. Marcus Satterfield, he worked with at Temple and Baylor. EJ Barthel, he worked with at Temple and Carolina. Terrence Knighton worked with him at Carolina. I think might have coached Terrence Knighton at Temple, actually. Evan Cooper, Carolina Panthers. Corey Campbell, Carolina Panthers and Baylor. Ed Foley, Carolina Panthers. So a lot of people are worried that he's just bringing all of his friends like Scott Frost did, but I don't know. It's kind of different for me than that because Matt Rhule did this at the highest level. Like this is his NFL staff that he's bringing with him. Scott Frost was bringing his staff from the American Conference from UCF.
Here's the thing. All right. Here's the difference. I'll tell you right now. Marcus Satterfield did not coach at the Panthers. EJ Barthel did not coach at the Panthers. I guess that's all for right now. But
Well, no, EJ Barthel did coach in Carolina.
oh, he did, yes. Okay. So EJ Barthel did, but Marcus Satterfield didn't. Terrence Knighton did for a little bit, I guess. Uh, but you're not gonna see like the Scott Frost hiring Mark Whipple
Yeah,
with no connection or stuff like that very often. That was a desperation hire to try and save Scott Frost's job.
right.
That's exactly what that was.
You want to hire your staff that you already know and are comfortable with instead of like last year. Yes, Mark Whipple, great OC. But you also have to acclimate that with your system, and that takes a little bit more time. And we saw it this year. They couldn't really develop all the guys that they wanted to develop because they had to implement this whole new system to everybody. When you get guys that you've already worked with, you could just have the system and you're just ready to go. Like the system front and back. You just implement it and we're going. So yeah, I think it's a little bit different. I don't know. Marcus Satterfield is kind of, I don't know. Well, from what I can tell, Zach's a huge fan of him. These last two games,
No, I
he's
mean, how
great.
can
The
you
last
not
two
be?
games, well, hold on. These last two games, he was great. Early in the year, South Carolina fans were like, fire him. They're like, team fire Satterfield. We don't want him off. And then when the news came out that he went to Nebraska, they were like, good thing we got him out, which, I mean, it's a little weird because they just beat the two top 10 teams in the nation. But yeah, I mean, I think Marcus Satterfield's great. I think he's really smart. I think he's a really good play caller. I think he's a really good offensive coordinator, but I wouldn't go on the level saying this is a home run hire or anything like that.
No, but you cannot think. You also got to be realistic, right? We're not going to get Tennessee's offensive coordinator
Right.
and Georgia's defensive coordinator and, Alabama's special teams coach and Ohio State's quarterback coach. Like, we're not going to get that. You got to understand that not everybody wants to come to Nebraska. Okay. It's a hard job to take on. It is. The fans want something and they want it really, really bad. And if you can't provide it, it has the possibility of ruining your coaching career.
Yeah. 100%.
A job like this has the possibility of ruining your coaching career. So no, we're not going to get A+ home run hires on everyone. But Marcus Satterfield is a good offensive coordinator.
Oh yeah, 100%. 100%.
Anyone that can put up 63 points on Tennessee is a good offensive coordinator.
Yeah. No, I
Anyone that
agree.
can put up
100%.
31 on Clemson is also a good offensive coordinator. I love it. But like you also gotta people cannot get mad about bringing the whole Carolina staff. I guarantee you Luke Fickell's gonna bring most of that Cincinnati staff over.
Yeah.
I almost guarantee it.
He's gonna try his darndest to probably keep Jim Leonard on, but I think Jim Leonard's gone.
Oh yeah. Whoever goes to Auburn, some people think it's Hugh Freeze. Some people have said it's TCU coach.
Well, Hugh Freeze is already hired.
Okay, whatever. Are you sure?
Yes. It's
Okay.
Hugh Freeze.
Anyway, so I bet Hugh Freeze brings over a lot of his guys that he maybe not, that he's working with currently, but connections are everything. You're not just going to go grab a brand new guy out of left field and try to. That's what one of Matt's big points was that the teams he's been on that have been really, really successful, everybody is going in the same direction. You can have the 10 top staff members in the nation, but if you're all pulling different directions, good luck. Nothing is going to get done. Absolutely nothing, and you're going to fail. So I like this. I like the fact that he's bringing his guys that he likes, and like you said, they all did it at the highest level in the NFL, and so it's not the UCF national champions staff either. It's with good resumes.
Yeah, cut out a little bit there, but that's okay. I think we got what you were saying. So yeah, let's jump into these questions that you guys left us. So let's start it off with what everybody's wondering. Angela Ferrier, in the group of Husker football fans for life, commented, "Are we keeping Mickey?" And I think that's what a lot of people are wondering right now. From what I can tell, And from what we're being told, I believe Matt Rhule has left the door open for Mickey to come back as a receivers coach. I don't know why he wouldn't. Mickey is a top recruiter. He's a top receivers coach. He has the resume to do that. So really, it's just up to Mickey Joseph, and who knows what's going to happen. The Tulane job is being rumored right now. That's where Mickey's from. So that's if Tulane wants to offer him a head coaching job, we'll see. I think it would be unrealistic for Tulane.
Are you sure it's Tulane or is it Tulsa?
Tulane, because Tulane's in Louisiana, which is where
Okay,
he's
well,
from.
he's also rumored to the Tulsa job. So
Okay, yeah, well, that's another one. So yeah, that's a possible roadblock because if he gets an offer for a head coach, it's going to be tough to see him coming back as a receivers coach. Maybe
here's
he
the
wants
thing,
to.
though.
Maybe he doesn't want to coach Group of Five. Maybe he wants to be a really high paid assistant coach at Nebraska instead.
I've heard they've offered him $800,000 a year to be a receivers coach and recruiter. There is no other receivers coach in the country that is getting paid $800,000 a year. I guarantee you that.
Mm-hmm.
And he may make more at Tulane and Tulsa, not substantially more. And I think he loves Nebraska. I really do. And he said before he's never made a move on coaching based off money ever, and he
Yeah.
never will. He's going to go where he wants to be, and I think he's already said he wants to be here, and he'd be happy to be back here as a receivers coach. The only reason I think it's taking so long is you get there. It takes a lot of time to work out a contract.
Mm-hmm.
You know.
So you do think Mickey's going to be back?
Absolutely, I absolutely do. I think Mickey wants to be back.
Yeah. I mean,
And
I think he probably does want to be back. I just think there's a lot of moving parts. Who knows? Because it's probably a
here's
tough
why I think
transition from going from you're the head coach, you're in charge of everything, to now you're like the third, fourth
well,
assistant on the team.
he'll still be the assistant head coach
Right. He'll
from
be
what
the
I
associate head coach.
but here's the thing. I know Matt Rhule will offer him the job because Tom Osborne told him to.
Yeah.
So I know Matt Rhule will. Because if Tom Osborne tells you to do something at Nebraska, you do that. I mean, there's no question about it. That's just what you do. And so, no, I think for sure he's been offered it. And I think for sure he's going to take it. And I'm not going to say he's going to be at Nebraska forever because that would be unrealistic. He's too good of a coach. He's too good of a talent to be here forever. But I think he'll be here for the next 3 years.
I hope so. I really hope so. I'm going to add a little addition to this question. I'm going to ask you, what do you think Casey Thompson's future looks like?
I think it looks bright.
Well,
I don't know if you saw
where do you think his future lays? Where do you think it's going to be? At least
Nebraska.
you think next year he's going to be at Nebraska?
Yeah, I don't know if you saw the interview of him. It looked like in the parking lot outside of Hawk Center. That came out, I think, today, but it was after. So he said, as soon as Mickey got the job, his first call was, or not Mickey. As soon as Matt Rhule got the job, his first call was to Casey Thompson, or his first call was probably to Mickey. But he said he called Casey Thompson very soon, and they talked for about an hour. Casey's dad came up and talked with him and Matt Rhule after the team meeting for, he said, quite a while. And Matt Rhule said he'd love to have Casey back on the team. He will fit Casey into his offense. Casey has also said, he said, Matt Rhule's got a lot of good qualities. He's very genuine. He's, wants to work hard, very good coach. And he said he sounds a lot like me. And I think that's a huge point. He relates to Matt Rhule a whole lot. The only thing that could hold Casey back, I think he was talking about, it'd be hard for him to come back and get another master's and graduate again. But here's the thing. If you want to play football, there's a lot of people at that school that'll find a way for you to play football, get another master's, and it not be all that hard for you. Like I guarantee you, there's a lot of people on the admission staff, there's a lot of people on the athletic staff that will find a way for Casey Thompson to get a master's in something and be eligible to play and it not be all that hard for him.
Mm-hmm.
If he wants to play, if Casey wants to play, he's going to come back and play. He does have a torn labrum. He tore it in the Georgia Southern game. He does have ulnar nerve damage. He does have an elbow contusion, and he said his hand is fine. So he's banged up, and it's going to take some time to get him back. But I absolutely think Casey's back because in Matt Rhule's offense and in Satterfield's offense, I think Casey is a potential NFL player. I'm not going to say he's a day one pick. I'm not going to say he's a top 3-round pick, but I could see him going in the 5th, 6th round, 4th, maybe late 4th round to an NFL team if he comes back and plays next year.
Yeah, 100%. So I just wanted to get your feelings on that because I kind of agree. It's kind of 50-50 for me on if Casey's going to be back. I have no clue. You got to think about the human side of it. Like, yes, he wants to play football, but also he is incredibly banged up. And how much of an offensive line are we going to fix? Like, is it just going to be perfect again?
No, I understand that. But here's the thing. Here's my part. If he doesn't come back to play at Nebraska, he's not playing anywhere.
He'll get practice squad. He'll get a shot.
Well, no, I'm saying college.
Oh yeah, he's not transferring. No,
he's not going.
He would have to sit out a year. I think.
Maybe.
I'm not actually sure on that.
But. With the coaching change, we're not sure on the whole rules.
Yeah, it's pretty complicated.
But even if he can transfer and not sit out a year, he won't. I guarantee you.
No,
it's not worth it.
Right. So next question, Patty Powell.
Oh, actually, hang on. Here's the thing. This is what I think. If Mickey's back, Casey's back. If Mickey's gone, Casey's gone.
You think that? I could see that being it. I could see that being the final decision for sure. But I'm not putting it out of the question that if Mickey Joseph isn't gone, that Casey Thompson doesn't come back. I think there's still a shot.
If Mickey's back, Casey's back. I think that for sure.
Yeah, probably. So Patty Powell's asked, what will be his most difficult, him being Matt Rhule, difficult thing to change and why? For me, it's pretty easy. It's a thing he mentioned. It's going to be the lines. It's going to be the offensive and defensive lines. Right now, that is easily Nebraska's worst position groups. Offensive line, probably below the defensive line. Defensive line wasn't terrible this year, but it wasn't good. And I think he can definitely make a change to it. It's going to take some time because you don't just grab 6 starting offensive linemen out of the transfer portal. It's just not how the transfer portal has worked. Maybe it's different this year because they're expecting a huge increase in transfers. I know a lot of people are tagging Nebraska in the Alabama offensive linemen that entered the transfer portal. But I mean, who knows? I think it's the toughest thing for him to change is going to be the trenches.
Yeah. I think that will for sure be really tough, but I don't think it's going to be the hardest. The hardest for me, I feel like, will be instilling a winning culture back into Nebraska because it's crazy. After the Purdue game, I wasn't that mad. After the Minnesota game, I was mad, but I wasn't that mad. And after the Michigan game, I wasn't mad, and that's personally, I mean, only I can change that. But
right.
I feel that same way with the players, right? That when we win, it's the Super Bowl. And when we lose close, it's like, man, we almost had him, right?
Mm-hmm.
But like Matt Rhule said, he doesn't care if the loss is by 50 or by 1. It's a loss, and it doesn't move you any closer. And we saw it with a lot of teams in the college football playoff. It doesn't matter if you lose by 50 or if you lose by 1. You're getting out
Right.
if you lose. And so I feel like when the 12-team playoff comes, obviously that's the goal,
Mm-hmm.
is the 12-team playoff. And so we need to get that into our head. It doesn't matter who you lose to or what you lose, but okay, who you lose to does matter. It doesn't matter what you lose by, though. It's a
Right.
loss and it's going to hurt you in the long run. And so I think instilling a culture of we need to go into every game expecting to win that game and nothing else other than that. Another one that just came to my mind that I really like that Matt Rhule said, he said, it's not a burden on him, but he feels like there's a really big responsibility to coach his absolute best and go out there and try to win every single game that the best he can, no matter who he's playing. Because he says when he goes out there and he looks up into those stands and he sees people that are using their hard-earned money, because he
Mm-hmm.
knows not everyone's gifted in the financial department like he is, obviously. There's a lot of people, especially in a state like Nebraska, that are working hard for their money and they're using that money to come watch him and his players perform in a sport. And he said he takes great pride in that because it means something to him that people are that bought in. And so I don't think there's a better fan base in the nation.
Yeah.
And
And I
so
think he
that just
said
really
that. I
gets me
think he said
going.
that too. I think he said this is the best
Yeah,
fan
that
base
just
in the
gets me going
country.
that he cares more about, like, you're not going to find a lot of coaches that say stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
He cares more than just the go out and win games. Like he thinks deeper than that. And that's huge.
Yeah. So last question we have here. Um, will we, or it's from Rick Moore, will we have more than 4 wins a year? Um,
Yes.
confidently, yes. Confidently, yes. I'll turn this into a little bit of a timetable, what I expect. Next year, I haven't really taken a deep dive in the schedule, looked at like predictions or anything, just because we don't even know the full staff. We don't know who we're getting. We don't know what our team's gonna look like. But I'd say 6 wins should be a good goal for next year. 6 wins. Um, and then after that, once you start getting better players, I mean, we saw it this year. The Big Ten West, it's not that good. I mean, it's really not that good. Like, there was not a single team we played this year in the Big Ten West that we shouldn't have had a chance at the end. You look at teams like Illinois.
No,
You look at
absolutely.
the
Yeah.
Big Ten West champ in Purdue. Like, Nebraska was right there. And so that's how it always is. That's how it's going to be. I think Wisconsin and Nebraska did just hire the best coaches in the Big Ten West. And I think Nebraska, Wisconsin eventually is going to be what runs through the Big Ten West. We'll have to see what Luke Fickell can do at Wisconsin, what Matt Rhule can do here before we put out a definitive answer. Recent history shows that Wisconsin has been the driving force in the Big Ten West, but it's totally different now. So yeah, I think it's
Certainly not going
easily
to be it's certainly not going to be Brian Ferentz and the Iowa Hawkeyes, that's for
right.
sure.
Yeah, I think Kirk Ferentz has probably got one more winning season in him before he's heading out the door. Um, so
And
yeah,
his son takes over.
yeah, my goodness. So yes, will we have more than 4 wins a year? I really doubt in the entirety. I know this. I know every single year it seems like we do this, but I really doubt that in Matt Rule's entire contract we have a season less than 6 wins. Like,
Yeah,
next
here's the
year is going to
thing.
be the closest. It's going to be close next year, I think, with 6, with making a bowl game. But after that, I think Matt Rhule is a good enough coach that he is going to be fine.
Listen, I hate to go back on our old coach, but listen, a lot of rumors came out against Scott Frost, and I didn't think they were true. But the fact that nobody backed him up and said they were false makes me think that, I mean, some of them are probably true. Comparatively, Matt Rhule is way too dedicated, cares way too much, works way too hard, and it is too much of a grinder to not win 6 games a year. He's just, he's just too good. and works too hard and cares too much and does too much of the right things to not win 6 games a year. A quick 30-second span on our schedule here of next year. You go first game of the year is, and I hate this, it's a freaking week 0 game, which is so dumb in my eyes, but probably one of our hardest games of the year.
Yeah.
At
100%.
Minnesota. At Minnesota. Okay, that's a tough one. But
Winnable,
there's no
though.
reason that can't
Still
be
winnable.
There's no reason that can't be a really, really physical, beat them down on both sides of the ball win. Next up, at Colorado. There's potential that could be a really, really easy win and a really hard game, depending on
I don't want to go throughout the whole schedule just because we have no clue who's going to be on our team next year.
Yeah. Anyways, we're gonna go really quick. NIU, Louisiana Tech. Then we play Michigan at Memorial. That's a huge game. At Illinois, Northwestern, Purdue, Michigan State, Maryland, Wisconsin, Iowa. No Ohio State. Right.
No Penn State.
We play Michigan. No Penn State. It's a favorable schedule. It absolutely is.
It's pretty comparable to this year, honestly. Schedule. Maybe even easier than this year.
I wouldn't say easier than this year, just because we have Michigan State and Maryland on there as our East teams.
You can never really know. Michigan State kind of turned it around this year, but
we don't have an FCS team this year.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
but it's very favorable. I definitely see 6 wins in there. I think we can go anywhere from 6 to 9, 5 to 9. I guess we can go anywhere from 5 to 9.
Yeah.
Yeah. But no, 4 wins, I think, is setting the bar way too low. I think it is. I think that's what we think of now, since that's what we've got over and over and over again. But I think it's way too low.
Yeah. And I
understand. Think you have to set the bar really high for this.
I completely understand that you don't want to set yourself up to get really excited and then just everything come crashing down, because that's what I've done for a while now. So I completely understand, but I truly believe that this is going to turn around.
Don't think we're going to be TCU. Don't think that.
Right.
Because it's probably not going to happen. We're not going to get a first-year coach and flip us into a number 3 team in the nation. It's not going to happen. It's hard. Don't think we're going to be USC, where we're 4-8 to 12-1, probably going to make the college football playoff, because it's not going to happen. It's hard because you're not going to get Caleb Williams and 4 NFL receivers to transfer to you. But also don't think we're going to be 1-11 Baylor, because that's not going to happen either.
With the transfer portal now, it's just
with the transfer portal, we're not losing 48 scholarship players, NIL, and we have support. Like, I don't think people realize the dumpster fire he was thrown into at Baylor was ridiculous, and the hard time he was thrown into at Temple. I mean, Temple, his last year there, he put out 5 draft picks.
Yeah, in
1 year. That's insane. I mean, that's remarkable in my eyes. So,
yeah. So that'll do it, I think, for this week's episode. Nice little laid-back episode, just recapping everything that's happened in the last hugely busy week. It's a little bit of a longer one. I think we went for about 40 minutes. Yeah, 38 minutes sitting right now. But just wanted to wrap up everything. I think I plan to have a video out on Friday with us. I wouldn't promise on it just because you never know, but I plan to break down the staff more. I hope Mickey decision comes out by then, more staff comes in by then. We know more about Casey Thompson possibly coming back. Just want to break down the entire staff in a real detailed manner. So yeah, that'll do it for this one. Thank you for everyone that sent in questions. Couldn't get to all of them because of the time we had.
One more thing.
Sure, Zach, you got one more thing before I sign off.
Yeah, I just want to send out a thank you to our current number 1 sponsor right now.
Yes.
Pipeline Jerky is a jerky made in Nebraska by Nebraska farmers that raise the Nebraska livestock, and produced and packaged by only people that work and live and support Huskers and Husker football, the official jerky of the Husker O-line. So now the official jerky of Matt Rhule, because he is the O-line. Yeah. Right now they're running a big deal. Free shipping on orders on $50 and up. And they support the Huskers. So go get some pipeline jerky. Once we get our samples, we'll let you know how good it is.
Yes.
And I'm sure it's great. It's homemade. It's made in Nebraska. So I'm sure it's incredible. But we'll let you know. Keep an eye out for that.
Yeah, can't wait to get some of that. Forgot totally about that. But yeah, the official sponsor of Big Red Radio is Pipeline Jerky. So thank you so much to them. And thank you so much for watching this episode. Remember to subscribe, like, hit the bell so you never miss one. And yeah, socials, Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, and Facebook. Follow all those along because we'll post updates over there. You'll get to have a chance to be in the Q&A like some of you were today. But yeah, Zach, anything else before we sign it off?
That's all.
All right. We will see you guys in the next video. Go Big Red.